wasn't looking forward to this. I'm sorry. I wasn't. This is my fourth movie by Jamae Colette Sarah. I have watched Jungle Cruise, Unknown, and Non-Stop. And I haven't been a particularly huge fan of all of them. Non-Stop was just alright. Unknown was not good. And Jungle Cruise was just like middle of the road. So I wasn't really looking forward to this. This is the third movie that Liam Neeson has done with Colette Sarah. Run All Night. So yeah, Run All Night, directed by Colette Sarah, written by Brad Ingleby. It stars Liam Neeson, Joel Kinnaman, Vincent D'Onofrio, Ed Harris, and even an appearance by Nick Nolte. And I had my guard up as soon as this movie started because something cool's happening, and then 16 hours earlier, I don't like that. I don't like that. They're tension killers almost every single time. I don't like that when that happens. But here's the gist of the movie. We've got Liam Neeson. He's a old drunk loser kind of dude, and he used to be a hitman for Ed Harris, who's an organized crime guy. Now, Ed Harris's son kills some Armenian gangster guy, and Liam Neeson's son witnesses it. So the sons go after each other, and Liam Neeson steps in and shoots Ed Harris's son. And now we've got to run all night, not just from Ed Harris and his bunch of cronies, but also from the cops. This movie does something I really like. I am a fan of that really, really dumb, stupid, over-the-top, awesome action show 24. Because it has zero of the things that annoy me in things. No flashbacks. No, none of that. No prequel stuff. Everything happens in real time. Everything you need happens as it goes along. And apart from the start of this movie's in real time. As they're on the run trying to survive and clear the son's name, played by Joel Kinnaman. What I liked about this is I felt very tense. It built up nicely, a little predictable, but once it happened, I was along for the ride and I really enjoyed it. The only problem is I would guess things that would happen in this movie, and they would. Only, here's how I'd like to guess things. I don't mind if I guess what's going to happen, and then 2 seconds later, boom, it happens. I'm like, well, that's about the time they wanted you to figure it out anyway. What I don't like, though, is guessing things that I think will happen, and then they happen about, 20 minutes or half an hour later. Because I'm like, I've been waiting for that to happen. And now it's happened. Ugh. All right, two things that I think there are a few things I think would make this movie even better than the time I had with it. Because right now, believe it or not, this sits at a 7. It didn't so much as stick the landing at the end. I mean, as it was landing, it bounced off the ground, a couple of the wheels came off, but one of the wheels is still intact. It still landed safely, and everyone disembarked quite nicely. So, didn't have a wonderfully smooth landing. But when it did land, there was relief and a sense of enjoyment. Yeah. So I'm giving this movie a 7 out of 10, but this movie could have been a lot better. All right, the script is decent. Could have been tightened up a little bit. It's a little cliched here and there, but that's fine. That's all right. Also, half an hour. Cut a half an hour out of this. You've got something that's a bit more tense, a bit more fast-paced, and that way it doesn't matter if I'm like, oh, I can see where this is going, because then I wouldn't have to go, are we there yet? Are we getting there? Oh, we're there. Okay, cool. Something like that. That would have been a lot better. Or I'd also say a different director. No offense to Colette Sarah, but I think he's a very workmanlike studio director. I think he's what they would probably call a safe bet. This guy can make solid movies in any style you want, I guess. But no flair. There's no flair or creativity, which is a shame because I feel like the script, even though it's a little cliched, would have been a lot better under a more stylistic director, I think. And one thing I haven't even touched on yet is the acting. It is amazing. Ed Harris is fantastic. So is Liam Neeson. I'm a, I'm becoming a bit of a fan of Joel Kinnaman. I liked him in Altered Carbon. I like him in Suicide Squad, and I thought he was great in this too. I want to see more Joel Kinnaman. I hope he gets to blow up in a way that I feel like he should. And it draws you in. It builds and builds. There's some really great character moments. The characters just sell everything, and because the story isn't lame, you get even more invested. Yeah, it's not perfect, but another thing I would have done, and this is a no-brainer, don't have that start where he's laying there in a pool of blood or water or whatever, murky blood, he's bleeding, with a gun next to him going, "Oh, when you die, your life doesn't flash before your eyes, your regrets do, blah, blah, blah." And then cut 16 hours earlier. Don't do that, because you establish some really decent tension with that on it. But you take that little bit at the start off, more tension, more, I'm going to be more invested in it. I really wish that trope would stop, and it doesn't. That's the only kind of flashbacky thing. Everything else, real time. I was quite satisfied at the end. I was like, that's not a perfect package, but it was an enjoyable one. I would go as far as to say this is the best that you could probably expect from a Jemaine Colette Sarah movie. Yeah. Now there's one more Liam Neeson Colette Sarah movie, which I will watch at some point. But so far we've had a okay one, a bad one, an actually really solid good one. And I wonder if fourth time we'll get something that elevates a bit. But look, Jungle Cruise came out this year. I'm watching all these movies that have already come out. And Jungle Cruise is his latest movie, Colette Sarah's, and it's average as fuck. So who knows? I hope it is pretty good. Give me a like, dislike, share, and subscribe.